Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Thank y'all so much. Sometimes I wish that y'all was here with us in the studio during the breaks so that y'all can join us with the silliness and borderline debauchery that goes on with us here in the break. Me and the co-host just had fun. If you follow us on social media, we ain't gonna tell y'all what we was doing. You gotta hit us up in social media. You gotta check us out on the Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J fan page. You gotta check us out on our personal pages to be able to understand why I'm out of breath right now and to understand the fun while you can hear her giggling before I bring her back in here. Call us at 804-402-2893 to be down with the flagship show of of Legacy Internet Radio.com. Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J is the name of the show. Thank you for those folks listening to us and tune in. That's the place that we want everybody to listen to us. You can check us out on the web. You can check us out on your mobile. Thank you to our loyal listeners, those folks that are listening to us on MixLR. Thank you to those folks that are listening to us on the replay here on YouTube. Shout out to everybody that supported us here at Legacy Internet Radio. We always like to ask the question, what the hell? We're going to get back to it. But before we do that, I am going to announce what we will do tonight that we have never done before here on Legacy Internet Radio. Never been done before. Tonight we will have not one, but two segments that we will call Random. My girl SY is just about as giddy as it gets. Random. And the next segment, we're going to do another random. And in that segment, we are doing trivia, TV trivia. And I'm going to ask the question, who am I? Just leave it with that. There's your tease. Who am I? That's the random. Who am I? All right. Ain't no half step with Mark J. We'll get a little bit more what the hell. You want to ask what the hell? We want to run through some what the hell? Because I know y'all going to be distracted now. You don't want to do no damn what the hell because you're going to be thinking about random. Some folks.
No, I'm still thinking about with mine eyes just witness. That's what I'm thinking about.
Oh, my God. No, don't delete that.
Dude. Let the world. No, that needs to be deleted ASAP. ASAP. No. I don't know what you're talking about because no. All right, listen, Tony, let me get you in on this one first. This story that we're gonna get into is about a nun killing priest. Oh my! And I'm getting this one from
the Huffington Post.
It's a nun killing priest who actually is getting a funeral. It's a Roman Catholic priest convicted of stabbing and strangling a nun 34 years ago in a hospital chapel. He's going to get a funeral mass, the church official said. The Reverend Gerald Robinson remained an ordained priest after his conviction, and his services will follow the usual protocol for a diocesan priest funeral. The Reverend Charles Ritter, administrator for the Diocese of Toledo, said in a statement. Robinson died last week at the age of 76. He had been serving a prison sentence of 15 years to life in what church historians have characterized as the only documented case of a Catholic priest killing a nun. He was arrested 24 years after the nun's death and found guilty in 2006 of stabbing and strangling Sister Margaret Ann Paul at a Toledo hospital where they both worked. Robinson had been in hospice unit since the end of May after suffering a heart attack. Robinson and Paul had worked closely together at the hospital where he was a chaplain and she was a caretaker of the chapel. He presided at her funeral mass. Prosecutors blamed the murder on Robinson's shimmering anger over Paul's domineering ways, saying their relationship was strained and that Paul was upset over the shortening of Good Friday services a day before she was killed. Robinson continued to maintain his innocence. Quote, whether in the eyes of God, Father Robinson was or was not guilty of his crime, I do not know, Ritter said in a statement. I do not know that he is in the work of God's hands as we all are. The statement said funeral arrangements were pending. So here's why I want to bring this up. They are trying to decide if this dude should get a funeral that a Catholic priest would normally get when this man died in prison for the murder of a nun. So my question to the panel is, and I want the listeners in social media and tune in, and if you're listening on YouTube, feel free to reply. After we've obviously gone off the air, call us up at 804-402-2893, 402-2893 with an 804 area code. Should the priest who is convicted of murdering a nun, and regardless of whether it was a nun or not, he was convicted of killing somebody, he dies in prison, should he get a priest funeral? SY, you up first.
No, because he committed a murder. No.
Damn, you had a lot to say on Sunday.
No.
Tony?
I disagree, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm actually familiar with this story because I watch a lot of ID channel, and very shaky case they had against this guy. But nonetheless, it was a nun, and they had to convict somebody, so he was it. It was very questionable. I mean, it wasn't like a straight shot. Oh yeah, he was the guy. Honestly, I'm familiar with this, and
So we don't really know that he did it?
No. I mean, he was convicted, but the stuff that they convicted him on was like, for real, that's all you got? And what the evidence they had was shaky. But again, that's why I think that he should still get it.
What do you think, Pandora? Pandora, jump in here. What do you think?
I was listening to what you said, and I'm thinking, get your evidence right before you blame someone for something. You can't just have like one or two bits and pieces of evidence and say, he did it. You get your evidence right. But I would say that he killed someone. He gets punishment just like everybody else when they kill somebody and they go to jail. You may be a priest, but you're not that special, so you don't get a fancy funeral.
But also, what about forgiveness? Because you can repent, and you can ask, what do they do? Who?
But did he? He didn't get a chance to.
Well, he didn't repent because he maintained his innocence.
Well, right, but don't they do penance like on a regular basis or something, don't they? I mean, if you pray, you ask for forgiveness for everything that you've done wrong, and whether he was guilty or not, as a practicing Catholic, then he should be able to, just like anybody else. So that's saying that nobody deserves that.
Someone did his confession for him?
I'm not saying he did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. For me, we as people, it's not our place to judge, right, where he goes. So if he has, whether they found him guilty or not, if he still has maintained that relationship, his relationship, and practiced his religion, then why shouldn't he, just like anyone else would? Because there were a lot of people who didn't feel that he was guilty. And again, in watching the different, and I saw like different shows that it was on, there are a lot of people in the Catholic community that did not feel that he committed the crime. But again, it was a nun. People were like, oh my gosh, who's killing nuns?
This is a tough one for me. First of all, I'm going to give a shout out to our sister Joy. Joy's checking in.
Hey,
Hi, Joy. Letting us know that she is here with us. What's up, Joy?
I just want y'all to know Joy is a troublemaker.
Joy
is the reason this hat is on my head.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Tell us why. Let's hear this story there.
Because you know how people send you these little challenges online, and my dear sister Joy decided to send me one because I responded to a picture of her. So I have to do a glam shot. So I figured I'd wear my hat and do my glam shot.
Get your glam shot.
I don't know. If I got one of those, I'd be in full cosplay. It's like super kawaii. So
yeah, but who's gonna make your outfit?
I got Pikachu ears, so I'm good.
Oh my God! You know how Steppin Marcus say. Here's my idea on this priest dude, man. I mean, people. If we live in the United States and we live in a country where we say that we separate church and state, and so if we're going to separate church and state, then we have to abide by the state and say that if someone has been convicted of a crime, then that makes them a criminal. But then the flip side of that, and the part that has me torn, is
that's the state's position, but this is still a man that's of the church. And so if he's of the church, they reserve the right to treat him however they choose to treat him after his body has been released from the state. And so it's hard for me. It's one of those situations. I mean, we always want to take a position. What's your position? What's your opinion? Left or right? Black or white? Blood or cuz? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You got to take a position on this. And I will kind of take a cue from my brother Carlton Banks and be law and order on this one. If you've been convicted of a crime, then you convicted of a crime, and I'm going to say that the traditional funeral is inappropriate for this dude. And, I'm not saying you get a pauper's grave, but I think even criminals deserve a proper burial. But there are certain people who deserve, based upon their standings in the community, their funerals might be a little bit more elaborate. An ex-president, might be more elaborate. Someone that was a politician had a lot of people who revered them, a public figure, a Mason. Those people might have different types of funerals. A priest might have a different funeral. Someone like this, I think you lost your right to do that by even being connected to a crime like this. That's just how I feel about it. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. The next thing I want to get into is a couple of stories. There's two stories that are on my mind that I want to combine. And I wanted to kind of formulate this segment around good cop and bad cop. The two stories that I have of bad cop, I'll come to those first. There's certainly one that's a good cop, but the ones that I have for bad cop is really bad cop. The first one, I don't know if you guys saw the video for this, but this is about a woman who is in, I guess she's in Southern California, and she's walking along, and there's video of this. And I'm also, that's why I'm getting this particular story from where?
The Huffington Post.
Yes. This one is about a woman who is walking along based upon this video, and a California Highway Patrol officer is caught on tape punching her on the side of the road. Now, this video was posted on YouTube. It shows the cop punching the woman on foot past the I-10 ramp. Those recording it can be heard laughing and all that kind of stuff, but the laughs quickly subside as the cops grab this woman who's either pulled down or falls down. All that's debatable, but you can see that he is beating her ass. He is punching her in the face and all that kind of stuff. She's fighting him off, trying to get him to not beat her up. Quote, a physical altercation ensued as the pedestrian continued to resist arrest, at which point a plainclothes off-duty officer assisted applying the handcuffs. Yeah, that's what the cops' bosses, the CIP or CHP, Chips, said in the statement. The woman refused to give her name. She's identified as Jane Doe, but we know that her family has since come out. She's great-grandmother. She's 51 years old. And if you see the video, which obviously we on radio, so I can't show you the video, but if you see the video, I've seen it multiple times since it came out this week, and you can see her walking along. You can see the police chasing after her, grabs her. She kind of turns as if to say, "What you doing, yo?" And you cannot tell. She either falls or he throws her down. That part's debatable. But what is not debatable is when she hits the ground, she's defenseless, and he's punching her all about the face. And so as I see this video, I'm like, is that really, really, really necessary? So I'm looking at this big man beating on this woman. And, my thought is, you're a man, you beating on a woman. I don't give a shit that you got a badge. You're a punk, period. That's just how I feel about that. I want the ladies to jump in here. I want Pandora first. Ain't no how stepping Marcus J. Pandora, you seen the video? What's your thoughts?
For all we could know, he got that badge at a Captain Crunch box. That doesn't mean anything. It's a shiny piece of metal with a given authority, verbal given authority, or written on paper. I don't know what they do. But I would seriously want to falcon punch that guy. It's like you're beating a defenseless woman for who knows what reason. And she's turning around like, huh? What? And then I don't know. I've never seen it. get whatever authority he has taken away. Just put him in jail. You're beating somebody with no real reason, and like you said, I guess they claimed she was resisting arrest. I would have been like, I'm not resisting arrest. I'm resisting being killed by somebody. That's possibly killed by somebody, but that's terrible.
So you see some sort of self-defense here, Mama. That's why. What you got?
Oh my God, that's that's horrible. It's really horrible, and I'm not sure what they're doing to him, but he definitely needs to come off the force. He has some type of issue or problem that he is beating a woman, number one, a defenseless woman, over and over again. I'd like to know a little bit more about that story myself.
Tony?
I mean, when police officers go through training, they're at the academy, they teach you how to restrain someone. There's a difference between restraining someone and beating them down, and clearly that is the case here. And it doesn't matter what she said, and even if she, physically, assaulted him in some way, you punching her in the face like a man is not acceptable. So yeah, he should definitely, I think, lose his badge permanently.
I wonder sometimes about these people, these officers, who do these things under the guise of anonymity. And I don't know if I said it right, but I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. When people don't know who you are, when they don't know who you are. There's a video that came out last week about a trucker who was blowing his horn at a police officer because the police officer was speeding and using a cell phone. And the trucker was blowing his horn at the cop like, "What you doing?" And that cop pulled that trucker over. And when that cop pulled that trucker over, there's two pieces to it. The first piece is the officer being kind of a jackass, like, "Why you blowing a horn at me? What you doing? I'm gonna give you a ticket for blowing the horns at me."
Guy with the Hummer.
And then the trucker says, "Well, I blew the horn at you, and by the way, I'm recording you right now, and I blew the horn at you because you're on the cell phone and you speeding and it's raining. That's why I blew the horn at you." And you can see the officer in the video. There's a video. All you got to do is Google trucker speeding on YouTube. It'll come up. And you can see the officer's whole position change. So the moral of the story is, you get pulled over or you have some sort of issue with it, have your camera out and record their asses. Because if you see this video, this California video, this officer beating this woman up, it's hard to watch, man. He's punching her all in the face, and all she's doing is trying to defend herself. It just reminds me of March of 1991 when Rodney King was catching that beat down, and those guys, Stacey Koon and them, all got acquitted. And what they got acquitted on was, well, we didn't see what happened before the video started. We didn't need to.
No.
All we saw was him get beat down and him trying to defend himself with four guys with clubs and stuff beating on him. It's crazy to me. And this next story about this Georgia cop, I'm getting this one from news1.com. He gets arrested after spitting on a black woman and calling her a racial slur. He has since bonded out of jail. It's Clayton County Police Officer Thomas Sheets. He's facing simple battery, simple assault, and disorderly conduct. Like I said, after spitting on her, calling her the B word, police said the incident occurred on June 29th, Highway 155 in Locust Grove. Michelle Griffith, 27, says it's where Sheets followed her for miles, blowing his horn, driving erratically. Griffith said that when they pulled into a parking lot where she was going to get pizza, Sheets approached her and angrily shouted at her, "Why the expletive are you going 35 miles per hour in a 45-mile-hour zone?" She says that he says to her, "That's when it really got crazy. I couldn't pass, you low-life piece of blank N-word," and he spit on me, is what Griffith said. Griffith said she was horrified. She and Sheets were screaming so loud that people came out of the stores and attempted to block him until other officers arrived. And so I hear stuff like this. Now, me personally, I've been pulled over several times in the last few months, and for various reasons. Usually because of driving while black, but that's another discussion for another day. But
And I haven't had any issues like this, at least not lately. I've had them in the past, but at least not lately. But we hear these stories happen so often. And curiously, I've never heard any of my white brothers and sisters tell any stories like this. And so when we share this with y'all, I want to know how you feel when we tell y'all this is going on and you look at us like we tripping. Like, if you can tell me instances where this happens to y'all regularly per capita, because remember, we about 13% of the population, and y'all about 60, because Latinos about to take over y'all asses. y'all finna be mad about that shit, but seriously. So, are we tripping? I mean, I want to know, because I'm already borderline militant, and I want to know if people think that I'm tripping, and I want my white brothers and sisters to come in 804-402-2893 or hit me in social media and tell me what the hell is going on. I'm not blaming all police officers, because that would be just as bad as white folk thinking that all black people are low-life thugs who, you know, be looking at cars just because they want to do something with the cars. And I'm alluding to how I got profiled on my own damn property a week ago. But seriously, this shit don't happen to y'all. And if it does, call me and tell me how it does so that we can build on it. 804-402-2893. Tony, jump in. What you got?
Aside from the whole N-word thing, which of course outrages us, you spit on me. That is something that that's beyond disrespect. And even as a child, that is something that I don't care who you were, where we were, you spit on me, it's going down real bad. How do you feel that you have the right to say whatever you want to people and do whatever you want to people and just walk away like it's all right? And then, you know, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, this was in Georgia. So I don't know, you know, what sort of disciplinary actions are going to be. You know, I know he was arrested, but, you know, how far is this going to go after he's out of jail now? So now what's going to happen? But, dude, you spit on somebody, like, that comes from, like, the pit of hatred.
I'm sorry. Let me get this comment out, and then I'll get you. My brother Ben is still listening. Ben says that you can't pull a camera out in New York and record an NYPD cop. They'll take the phone and beat you with it. And I absolutely agree with you on that one, Ben. I never seen it happen, but I'm certainly not surprised. That's why.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Ben. I was listening to you read that story, but I forgot everything else once you got to spit on me. Because once you spit on me, the only thing that's certain is we're gonna be throwing blows. Yep. You're gonna get hit one way, shape, or form by me, something, or whatever. Because the anger that I'm gonna feel at that point is like I can almost lift my car and smack you with it. Right. So you are definitely gonna get hit. We're at a totally different level than you pulling me over and calling me the N-word. We're way past that now because you spit on me. And that is enough to make me almost think I would kill you at that moment for spitting on me.
That might be one of the most vile, nastiest things that a person can do to another person. My sister Joy is listening to it. She said that I ain't tripping. It's crazy. Ain't no how Steppin with Marcus J. Now, we, in the interest of being fair, we always like to tell contrasting stories. We know that the police be tripping. We know that black folk be tripping. We know that white folk be tripping. It don't matter what community you come from. It's people in that community that's tripping. Every single police officer that I have dealt with that has pulled me over or that I've talked to in the last several years has been pleasant, has been respectful, has been professional. So in the interest of full disclosure, when we do these stories on this show and we talk about police officers that act a damn fool, yeah, there's some out there that act a damn fool. But you know what? There's some black folk that sell drugs and shoot each other. So this is not about bashing police. It's not about saying white folk is the devil or none of that shit. It's just the real talk of putting it out there that, listen here, folks, this stuff happens. Don't turn a blind eye to it. pull your camera out and record them. And if your recording shows them saying, turn that damn camera off, and you get that little bit, then they have to know that whatever came after that is some real shit. So let's talk about the fact that we got a very sweet and benevolent officer who, she was arresting this lady. This was a woman who, this is in Miami-Dade County, and this is an old story. It's from last summer, but it's just on my radar, so I'm talking about it now. But this is a woman in Miami-Dade County. It's the officer. Her name is Vicky Thomas. Officer Thomas was about to arrest Jessica Robles, but changed her mind at the last minute. Instead of arresting her for shoplifting, she decided to buy Robles $100 worth of groceries out of her own pocket. Quote, I made the decision to buy her some groceries because arresting her wasn't going to solve the problem with her children being hungry. And there's no denying they were hungry. Robles' 12-year-old daughter started crying when she told the local TV station about how dire their situation was. Quote, it's not fun to see my brother in the dirt, hungry, asking for food, and we have to let him. There's nothing here. Officer Thomas says that she has no question that what she did was right. Quote, to see them go through bags when they bought them, it was like Christmas. That $100 to me was worth it. But Officer Thomas did have one request. The one thing I asked her is this, quote, when she gets on her feet, that she help someone else out. And she said she would. And guess what? The story gets even better. After word got out about what happened, people donated another $700 for Jessica Robles to spend at the grocery store. And the best of all, a local business owner invited her in for an interview and ended up hiring her on the spot as a customer service rep. Of course, she started crying when he told her, quote, there's no words. And she said, quote, there's no words how grateful I am that you took your time and helped somebody out, especially someone like me. And to think it all started with one veteran police officer trusting her instinct instead of going by the book. That story right there made my day. And when I read it, I literally got like Charles Ingalls from Little House on the Prairie emotional, because it told me, it was like the great architect of the universe tapping me on the shoulder and saying, all of these stories of police brutality and Oscar Grant and all of this craziness that you see, those people are not the norm. Because we know when we watch the news every single night and we see these stories of these black kids doing all this crazy stuff, we know that that's not the norm. They choose not to tell us the good stories. Mm-hmm. So when we hear a good story like this, we have to assume that good will always outweigh the bad, and this is more the norm than the bullshit that we just talked about. To that, Tony, you say what?
This is awesome. I love it. And you know, there really are a lot of good people in the world. And like you said, I don't watch the news. I tried for like a couple of months again this year, but I can't. There's just so much negativity. I had to delete the app from my phone yesterday because I'm tired of getting all these alerts about homicides and just horrible things that are happening. And like you said, that there are still good people in the world, and some of them are police officers. And you know, we just have to try to keep that in mind and not focus so much on the negative things. Do what you can at every opportunity that you have. You might think it's something small, but you can see, like you said, how this officer's actions kind of snowballed into something wonderful for this woman and her children. So, you know, just we can make a difference. And I think a lot of times people think, well, I'm not rich, so I can't really do a lot. You never know. You know, just the fact that you try to help someone, and again, passing that on. That's really what, being blessed and being a blessing is about. Is passing on what people give to you. So
that's why. What do you think?
Well, gee, I should have went first. I don't know if I can top that. But really, that is an awesome story. That is really good. I'm very, very happy for her. And, with all this good happening to her, one after another, the next story will be how she pays it back.
Yep.
It's got to be.
You can definitely tell it's going to come.
And I have Steppin Marcus. All right, two more. And then we're going to move on to the TV thing random section.
that we have that makes SY giddy. I'm getting this one from the BBC. This is about Zimbabwe President Robert Mugabe. I teased it at the top about a African president doing something that has been done here in the United States many times in the past, but the world is having a problem with the African president Robert Mugabe doing this. What did he do? He told the white farmers to get the hell off the land. Zimbabwe President Robert Mugabe has called on the country's remaining white farmers to cede land to black people. We say no to whites owning our land, and they should go. This is a quote from Mr. Mugabe. He told his supporters at a rally. The White Farmers Union said it was regrettable that racial tensions were flaring up again. The president's critics say his policy of seizing most of Zimbabwe's white-owned farms caused the country's economic collapse from 2000 to 2009. Mr. Mugabe, who's 90 years old, has governed Zimbabwe since its independence in 1980. I remember reading about that because Bob Marley was a invited guest to do a concert there, and his album that was called Survival was written in part inspired by the independence of Zimbabwe. So I know a little bit about what's going on there. He was reelected as president last year with 61% of the vote, defeating his long-standing rival Morgan Tsvangirai. Lord knows I spelled and pronounced that wrong, but damn it, ain't nobody in Africa listening to us. Maybe in Korea, where I got a cousin, but I know ain't nobody in Zimbabwe listening to us, so I think we got away with one. But they are, don't be too kind to white farmers. Land is yours, not theirs, Mr. Mugabe said at a rally. They should get into industries and leave the land to blacks. Mr. Mugabe's comments have caused anxiety among white farmers, said the Commercial Farmers Union Director Henrik Oliver. We'd like to move forward and work with the government of the day. They were only between 100 and 150 white farmers left in Zimbabwe. Several thousand of them were forced to abandon farming after the government launched a controversial land reform program nearly 15 years ago. So let me set it up. You got an African president in Africa saying to white people, you're not welcome here, get the hell on. You can own, and I didn't allude to this in this particular article. I've read, when I read stories, y'all, I don't just read one source. I choose one source to tell y'all, but I read it in multiple sources to make sure the shit's legit, because the last thing I want to do is get called out for something that's like on the Onion, because that happened to me once, and I don't want nobody calling me up or sending me an inbox, that's not real, you read something that's, no. So when I read articles, it's real stuff because I've read it in multiple locations. The other part of this is that he told them, saying white folks in the article, get off the land, we don't want you here. You can own the property on the land. So if you built a structure, if you built a building, if you own a structure, you can run it, you can rent it and do whatever you want. You cannot own the land. White folk, I need you to get on. And so, you know, I teased this when I did it in social media, and when I spoke of it earlier in the show, I said an African president does something that has happened in the United States many times. And so I want my white brothers and sisters who are listening, particularly I want y'all to comment if you're listening, if you choose to, whether you're in social media and you're listening to us live in MixLR or TuneIn or Facebook or whatever. If you want to call us at 804-402-2893, or if you want to hit us up and give us a comment in YouTube, you know, post show, I would love to hear your opinion of this. You know, my take on it is somewhat interesting, and I'll go last after the ladies. Tony, you up first. You hear a story like this, what do you think?
I mean, good job for him. You know, to me, it really speaks the fact that he's been reelected so many times, you know, despite the economic crisis that they're in, really speaks to the fact that, you know, sometimes freedom is more important to people than stuff, than money. And of course, you know, if you own the land, you got more say in what goes on that land. So, I mean, kudos to him. And, you know, I understand, you know, the white farmers may not be so happy about it, but he's trying to do what's right for his people, what he was elected to do. So do you, boo.
Yeah, I agree. Good for him. honestly, I mean, we can't personally relate, but we can understand it.
Yeah.
So, very good. Very good.
You know, it's funny because I read this article in liberal websites, and I've also read it in conservative websites, and it's just really, really curious that the conservative websites are outraged. They're outraged because President Barack Hussein Obama has not come out publicly and condemned Mugabe for this action. But what they're not reporting is that Barack Hussein Obama, the president of the United States, has blocked Robert Mugabe from coming to America and being at the UN and having the meetings because of his human rights positions. Mugabe is a freaking crazy person. He is a crazy person, okay? Not just because of there's other stuff that he does. He's a crazy person. I'm going to get Pandora in here and I'll finish my point. Pandora?
I may not understand, and I may not know, but above that whole you can own property on the land, but you can't own the land. Technically, that is on the land, and technically that does belong to whatever government system that they have. Technically, this isn't our land. If you buy something from, I don't know, if you rent something, that's technically not your building. That's the government's building. They can take that building away from you, and they can build, I don't know, they can clear a huge field of houses and build a gigantic power plant. That's still their land, but I'm getting
saying,
off topic.
You're renting my house. So you live in my house, right? But you can't do what you want to do to my house or on my property. It's not yours.
Oh.
Now, granted, you live there. You can stay here, but it's not yours. You can't do what you want. So on this property right here, which is mine, I allow them for whatever the trade was to build on my property. Okay? So this may be yours. This right here is not yours. Get off.
That's the trick,
it's called fee simple, which is basically what we have here in America. So basically, you can buy land, you have access to that land, and you can build on it and do what you want. But ultimately, the government controls it, and that's why we pay personal property taxes here.
Yep. Eminent domain.
That's
Right.
like that tree that was in front of our house.
Oh, goodness. But I don't get that. It's like you can own
I own
that
a house and I don't
property.
get it either.
Right. Right.
Remember that tree that was in front of our house? And I wanted the tree cut down? The tree was on the property that I was held responsible for maintaining, but the tree was not my property, and I
Right.
could not cut down the tree.
How do you maintain that, but you can't do any? That's stupid.
It's not mine.
It's the government.
That's stupid.
Well,
it's
that's-
like it's like.
Well, that's the trick. That's how they get you because,
Then I'm not getting off.
we're just looking here in America. We can own, or we think we own property, but how many times have we seen the government decide that they want to build a strip mall?
Yep.
And so
You're
they
out.
decide that your ass is gone. I mean,
can't
that's
take my home.
they call it eminent. They call it eminent domain. My thing is this. I'll say this and then we'll move on. I got one more story I don't want to get to, and we'll hit that briefly and then we're going to get out of the segment. But it's wrong what Mugabe is trying to do. You don't just kick people off their land. If you're going to be consistent, then you got to be consistent. You can't be consistent because you support the black man. You can't be consistent because you support the white man. You can't be consistent because you're of African descent as an African president who's doing the same shit to white folk that white folk does to black people here in this country. If you're going to be consistent, then you got to be consistent. What Mugabe is doing is wrong. It just is. If these people own the land, if these people work the land, if these people have lived on this land, for you to kick them out and say, you know what, you white, get on, that's not cool. You don't get to do that. Now, I guess you do if you're a dictator, but if we're going to be, if we're going to speak logically and we're going to speak fairness, then that's not cool. And it's no more cool than white folk coming to our houses and putting crosses up and burning them and all that type shit. It's the same stuff. But see, I find it curious that you got some white folk who see this as a problem. They see this as a problem. They say Mugabe is terrible. He's a bad man. President Barack Hussein Obama doesn't condemn him.
he's a bad man too. He's the worst president ever, because you know there was a poll that came out last week that said that Barack Obama was the worst president since World War II. So you got these white folk that's on the right that's saying all of this stuff, but then when we as black folk who live in this country, they try to remind them of the history that their ancestors perpetrated against us, they tell us, you don't get no reparations. Slavery ain't no big deal. Why y'all still tripping? It's not that serious. Relax. When we see the Jewish people got reparations, we ask for ours. The Holocaust lasted, what was it? A generation, 12, 10, 20 years maybe. And ours lasted, from the 1500s until 1865. It's just crazy to me, the hypocrisy there. So that's the only point that I'll get. I'll acknowledge that both sides is crazy, but when you're a white dude and you trying to tell me that I'm tripping when I tell you that you wilding out, but then you say that Mugabe is wrong and you say that our president is wrong for not calling him out, I call bullshit on that.
Basically, our president doesn't have to friend everybody. He doesn't have to let everybody in. He doesn't have to be in everybody's business, because that's annoying. We can't be in other countries' business. That's frustrating, and we get involved in their stuff.
That's always been our problem in this country.
Exactly.
They don't have step in with nonsense. Last thing I want to get to in this segment was, did y'all see the float in Omaha, Nebraska, where they had a, quote, presidential library float? That was on the 4th of July. It depicted a figure standing outside an outhouse labeled, quote, the Obama Presidential Library. It created a stir in social media, also received criticism in Norfolk, Nebraska. The float in Norfolk's annual Independence Day parade was a flatbed trailer being pulled by a blue pickup truck. The figure was dressed in overalls and standing next to a walker outside the outhouse. The hands and head of the figure were greenish and appeared to be zombie-like. The hands were pressed against the sides of the figure's head. Miniature American flags were atop the float and the truck. Neither the float nor the pickup identified a sponsor. A sign in the windshield said that the entry was number 29. But the float, as described with the figure that I just described to you, as I mentioned, said Obama Presidential Library. Some folks have issues with that. Tony, are you one of them?
I'm looking at it. This looks so ridiculous. That is just stupid. Where do people come up with this stuff?
That's what I'm asking you. I want to know, because people call me a racebaiter. People call me a racebaiter, and they tell me that I bring up this stuff and I make, situations uncomfortable and all that. All I do is I point out bullshit. I'll point out when you black and you acting a damn fool, and I'll call you out if you white and you acting a damn fool. This time it's white folk acting a damn fool. I got into it with one of my white brothers who was telling me that I'm being sensitive about the freedom of speech argument, because when these folks say stuff about the president of the United States, he needs to grow up and stop being, so sensitive about it. So I asked him directly, if you were sitting in a bar and somebody came up to you and called you a gay person or a tranny, which you're not to say that there's anything wrong with that. If you gay and a tranny, then live your life, boo. But if you not, you're going to be somebody that's going to be annoyed if they called you that. If you white and somebody called you black, you're going to be pissed. Yeah. If you're a black person, you proud to be black, and somebody said you acting white, you're going to be pissed. If somebody says that you something that you not, you're going to be pissed. It is what it is. So I asked this dude, I was like, yo, if somebody said to you, you a gay tranny in a nightclub, you're going to turn the freaking other cheek and say that, you know what, I'm going to just be the bigger person and grow up. I almost said it. I almost said something, but that hypocrisy just pisses me off, because you try to throw how bad people was George Bush in my face. Like, I almost got cussed again, but I cut you off. I get passionate about this, Tony. It's your mic. What you got?
No, it's fine. Yeah, this is times like these. I wish I had like flamethrowers.
Times like these, I wish that I had somebody white here that could be a balance, because when it's only black folk talking, all you get is black folks' opinion, and people don't want to acknowledge that black folk and white folk, even though we're brothers and sisters and we live in the same country, we got different perspectives. White folk, sorry, y'all don't understand half the shit we go through. You think you do, but you don't, and we don't understand what y'all go through. the most privileged person in this country is a white male. Not only are you white, but you are also a man. So you just don't get a lot of stuff. But again, I cut you off, Tony. Let me stop. I'm gonna cut my own mic off.
No, I mean this is certainly a what the hell, and you know, I'm trying to look at this picture to see the reactions of the people who are there, and you can only see a couple people, but what's the point? Like what is the point of it all? What are you doing on Independence Day? What message are you sending?
The
to
only
the world?
message that I can think of is that you are not a fan of the current president and you want to try to embarrass him and show your friends that you are so bold that you can put something like that together and you can get some laughs. Presidential library, an outhouse with the president looking like a zombie dressed in overalls.
But
I mean, really?
That don't even look like the president. It looks like Frankenstein. Like you look like an idiot. That's just ignorance to me. It's straight ignorance. That's all it is. And again, I wish I had a flamethrower.
That's why. What you got?
You know, I don't even know what to say about that. It's just pure stupidity, and it just doesn't even deserve any attention. It really, I don't think that. I don't think it really does.
I can dig it. I can dig it. Ain't I asked that Mark J? All right, listen. We're gonna take another break. Damn it, I know it's late, but we ain't finished with the show, so don't go nowhere. Stay with us and continue listening, because when we come back for the first time ever, we are going to have the second random section of the show. And this particular random is going to be fun because we got some questions about TV trivia. We're going to play the game. Who am I? For Pandora, Miss Tony, and the co-host SY. I'm your man, Marcus J. Ain't no half stepping with yours truly. We shall be back in a minute.